Hey everyone, it's Ben from Rook Films, and today, this is what we're going to be creating. So as you can see, we got some really cool stylistic effects going on. We got some VFX smoke, some debris, we got some sparks, and basically this is the first matte painting I've done, so be gracious in the comments. But yeah, so here it is. Here's the main scene. This was made all from scratch. I'll show you. I have a little project file. If you guys want to download this, it'll be in the description. But here's the official video. And we got some, I didn't put all the VFX stuff in, but we got all the sound effects, the bell riser, bomb scanner, dark slam. You guys can look through those. And then we got the pictures. These pictures were used to ultimately create this scene. So this was used for the floor, I believe. This was the door, but that looks pretty familiar. And then here is the walls, and then this was actually shown when the door blows open. It might have been hard to see, but this was the picture that was shown. And then we have this little fluorescent light that we have up here, and then that's it. I mean, it's really a pretty basic scene. This originally took me about a day to do because I didn't really know what I was creating. You know, with matte paintings, it's all up to your imagination, so it's not like you're following a tutorial. You're just doing it by yourself. So I figured this would be a really cool tutorial for an original idea. And the awesome thing is that you have your own project file that you can follow along with. Kind of get you some experience. So, and then along with that, we have the dungeon scene original video. Let's turn that volume down. Dungeon scene original video, just for if you wanted to look over this. And then we have the green screen twins. Awesome actor guys coming in. They're shooting. They're looking awesome. They exit. And then, yeah, so I probably won't have enough time to show this, how I did this part, because this part was actually very time consuming, getting them to be able to exit the doorway. I thought it was going to be easier than I originally thought out to be, but yeah, getting them to mainly walk, like exit the doorway was hard. It was very hard. But yeah, I mean, we got it figured out. So there's that. Okay, so the project file, I have everything linked down below. But yeah, as you can see, we got some really cool effects going on, some emergency lights. Got a lot of pre-composed things here. So it's going to be hard to kind of navigate all this. I didn't do an amazing job labeling everything. But basically, this is the floor. I used some turbulent displace and just kind of spanned all these out like so, just to give the floor a little bit of texture. And obviously, I'm going to go through all this in the tutorial, but yeah, this is basically the floor. There was the alternative floor. There was the first matte painting, and then I kind of turned it into a more greenish, dark dungeon scene. And then here comes the part where the door blows up. And if I have time, I'll probably show how I did the whole door thing blowing open. But yeah, let's get right into it. New composition. We'll name this Dungeon Matte Painting Tutorial. Make it about a minute and 45 seconds because I think it was actually 45 seconds. I like to leave myself a little bit of room there. 24 frames, hit OK. All right, and here we go. Now all we got to do is bring in our folder here, import the folder, open it up, go to pictures. We'll start with the floor. So really, this composition should not be named. It should be named floor. Hit OK. So we'll bring this out. We've got a regular concrete picture. Now you're saying, how are we going to turn this into a floor? Well, we'll make this a 3D layer. And, oh, I forgot to mention, under the effects and presets, I did use a free plugin. It is free. It's by Video Copilot. It's called VC Color Vibrance. It's a totally free download. I'll have it linked in the description if you guys want to download that. You don't have to use this. I just you could probably use change to color if you want to. I just like VC Vibrance because it gives you a little bit more customization. So if you want to do that, you can totally use that. Don't let them hold you back. So off the bat, it's going to look a little weird once you added it. I'm just going to make this probably like a darkish gray if I can. And then we'll just lower the brightness. And then we kind of have this dark-ish looking object. Then we'll hit R on our keyboard to bring up the rotation. We'll play with, I believe it's the X rotation, yeah. I'm going to play with the X rotation. Just going to bring it out like so. Bring it down to the ground. Again, you're just going to have to play with these scenes a little bit. It's going to be a little weird. Yeah, you're just going to kind of get it to where you want it to be. Just trying to make sure it's fully on there. Okay, that's looking good. So, oops, let me move that up a little bit. Okay, now, all we have to do is just hit Control D to duplicate it, and then just move one off to the right. Try not to overlap them entirely. Sort of something like that. Duplicate this, move it off to the left. This is gonna kind of get messy, but this is the process. We're gonna duplicate all of these to make it easier. Just move them down below. And then we will move with the y-axis and just push those further out. And then we'll duplicate this one more time, move these out, and then extend it again. So there we go. And then that's our basic flooring. And now what we can do is go ahead and duplicate these ends, pull that out just so that we have the little end square here. We don't want to leave any part behind. So we're just trying to make this floor. And there we go. That's looking good to me. So now what we can do is we can throw some turbulent displace onto the scene. So you notice when you add some turbulence, I'm just going to add it to all of the layers. I'm going to just select all of these and double click turbulent displace. So now when we go through, they all have it. So we'll start with number 1. All you got to do is really just play with the amount and value. Now you can see it's kind of switching, because when you look at this, this is all the same pattern, because these are all the same. This is all the same picture. So by turning on some turbulent displace and just messing with the amount, don't go too much because then it will start messing with your picture, but just by changing this amount a little bit, you come up with something that's completely different. So this line is now over here. Now it looks like a completely different square. Now there's other ways to do this. You can really do whatever you want to do, but if you find a better option, go with that. I just figured this is pretty easy. It's just a preset loaded into After Effects. I didn't want to use any third parties, so that looks good. Probably just bring this one back straight. Yeah, so now this looks like a completely, these are all different. So yeah, just go through here, make these kind of weird, wiggle them out a little bit, change the amount, pull the amount down, kind of just play with it. There we go. All right. Yeah, looks good. I'm not going to go over too much in this. I mean, this is a pretty dark scene already. Like if you look at the project file, go to the original video, I mean, you can see that you can barely even see this bottom part right here. Like it's pretty dark. But I just like to add a little bit of turbulent displace from time to time to make the scene feel more real. So we'll go back into the project. This is a good flooring. I'm liking this so far. I have no complaints really right now. If anything, I just select all of them and maybe just bring up the flooring just a little bit more. Other than that, I think this is good. So we can move on to part 2. We'll go ahead and hit the composition. And this will be our walls. So we'll click OK. And then what we can do is we can pull in our floor composition into here. So now we have, oop, what did I do there? Come back. So now we have our floor composition in here so that we don't have all of these layers everywhere. It's just one solid layer. So this is looking good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into my project file. I'm going to go to the pictures and I'm going to find there we go, my walls. Okay, so we have these walls. We're going to scale this up by clicking S on the keyboard. Remember to make this a 3D layer. Oh, can I make it a 3D layer? There we go. Probably pull it back a little bit. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go by the sides. I think this is what I ended up doing was I just keyed these out. Oops. And you can do this by switching between H and G. H to move the, oops, there we go. H, you can move your composition view around, and then G is how you get your, I'm sorry, I can't even think right now. G is your pen tool, so I'm just roughly going through here, keying this out, because we already have our flooring, so we don't need anybody else's flooring. I think I did actually end up using some different walls here because this wasn't long enough. I didn't want to stretch these columns too much because they're already pretty much a low resolution. So I just connected that there. Pull this down a little bit. It's looking good. And we'll just pull it to the front here so that it kind of fits with our scene. And then we'll just go and we'll scale it up a little bit more. Just a tad bit more. Probably pull it back in Z space. Pull it down a little bit. And that's looking pretty decent. Then we'll just go ahead and put some VC color brightness on it as well. We'll name this the back walls. Then we can kind of click this dark color right here, and then remember, you're just going to turn down the brightness a little bit so that it matches as much as possible. Maybe play with the gamma a little bit. That's looking pretty good to me. And then we'll just click on the back wall layer and click F on your keyboard. We'll just feather that maybe about 3 pixels, I'm thinking. Yeah, don't want to feather it too much. I notice I have a little gap down here. I'm going to pull that up a little bit. But that looks actually pretty decent. I'm happy with this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull in this wall picture again. You're going to see what I'm going to do with this in a second. I'm going to put some color vibrance on it. Make it just like what we had before. And I like to put it up against this wall for the sole purpose that I kind of want them to blend together. So I want to get it to the perfect point where I think it's just like that's pretty well blended. I like this right here. Maybe play with the gamma a little bit. And that looks good. We'll put it behind the back walls. And then we'll just kind of square it up. Let's again make it a 3D layer. Pull it back behind the walls. And then just scale it up. Okay, I like that. We'll go ahead and duplicate it. Actually, we don't even need to duplicate this. We can just, I'm guessing we can just X, Y rotate it? No. X rotation. Wait, what am I doing here? There we go. No, this isn't what I want. I'm sorry. Take it off the 3D layer. Actually, you know what? Never mind. Yeah, we'll just keep it. We'll keep it like we have it. We'll duplicate the layer. What I was gonna do was I was gonna rotate it. Maybe it's the Z rotation. Oh, I'm such an idiot. Yeah, it is the Z rotation. Yeah, so just do this to 90 degrees. And then we'll just pull this X rotation down a little bit. And then we'll put this under our floor as well, because we want the floor to be matching. So then we'll just go ahead and click our this wall again, duplicate it, bring it over to the other side. Maybe even if you want to do a little bit more, maybe go into the rotation settings again and just go -90 so that it doesn't look exactly the same. We'll maybe put some turbulent displace on this layer as well, just so that these walls don't look exactly the same. I don't want to make it look weird. That's a little better. I'm liking that. Okay, so now we can see that this scene is pretty much coming together. We have the main outline of our matte painting, all from scratch. This is looking really good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, we're going to go back to the project file. We're going to pull in our main wall. Now, the only problem that I found out with this wall is it's really low resolution, so you're going to get some grain when you officially get it done with. But, I mean, hey, if you find a better door, let me know. I'm just going to go around, do the same thing. We're going to pen tool this deal out. Again, switching from G to H. I'm sorry if I'm going a little bit fast, or if I'm going a little bit more advanced with this. I just figured everyone would know that G to H, like, that's a pretty common thing. I'm just going to key this out. Oh, that was kind of weird. Oops. All right, that looks good. You want to pen this one as best as you can, because this is kind of going to be the focal point of your whole thing. So yeah, I might just want to have this looking pretty good. Okay, so we have a door. Hi, door. We'll name this door. Cool. We'll name this walls. Walls. Probably actually name the back wall pillars. That'll actually make it better for us. What we're going to do is we're going to make this 3D layer. Going to scale it up. Throw some VC color vibrance on it, as always. This one's kind of harder because it's got a, you might have to play with this one a little bit more because it had a weird original color. So, and now in the original, I made it so that it was kind of off the ground a little bit. You guys don't have to do that, but I just felt like that was a good option for me. I'm going to feather this to about 2. Again, you just hit F on your keyboard. I want to see how that looks. That's looking good. I got a little bit of shadows on it. Only part that I'm not liking, though, is that this isn't really... There we go. Play with the vibrance. You really got to turn that vibrance up, and that'll give you the look you want. I also want to change the keying a little bit on this because I feel like it's not very good. I'm sorry, not the keying, the rotoing. That's looking pretty good. We got some nice shadows behind it. Looks a little bit more three-dimensional now. So cool. We got the scene. This is basically what we wanted. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the project file. We're going to grab our fluorescent light. Cool, cool. I'm going to zoom in on you, buddy. And we're just going to rodeo out the exact same way by pressing G and pen tooling this guy out. Looking very nice so far. Oops, that wasn't very good. Now you want to be careful as to leave some room for this guy because the light is traveling. So we don't want to make him look like he's too far away. It's looking decent. I don't really like the way that looks right now, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. So if you need to, oops. Ah, can you not do that right now? Okay. Maybe just pull this up a little bit. Give him a little bit of light. It's okay if it's not perfect. It doesn't need to be completely around him. The reason I'm pulling these pen points away is because this light has more volume to it, and you're kind of choking the picture if you don't show the picture to its fullest potential. So this looks good. We're gonna fix this later as we go on, but I'm just gonna make that a 5 on the feather. Name this Flores. I'm not even gonna worry about the spelling. I know that's wrong. And then I'm just going to place, oops. I'm just gonna play, come on. Just gonna place it up top. That looks good for right now. We'll place some color vibrance on it as well. Turn down our brightness just a tad. We're gonna brighten the crap out of this thing, so don't worry if it's not perfect. That doesn't look very good at all. Maybe I didn't use, I don't remember if I used color vibrance or not. I guess I didn't. I'm just gonna play with these a little bit more just to get it perfect. To get it to the way I want it to be. That looks a little bit better. Okay. So that's good. We got the main scene. I think what I might do as well is I might just brighten this wall up a little bit. Yeah. That makes it look like it's more in the scene. Okay, so this is our scene. Like, we've already done pretty much the majority of this thing. I'm just going to make sure that we didn't... Okay, yeah, so pictures. We're all done with the pictures. All we got left is the sound effects and the VFX. Okay, so now that we've got our basic scene laid out, there's a few things that we need to go through and a few techniques we need to cover really quickly in order to enter in our camera. So when we add a new camera, we're going to make it 35mm. We're going to just call it camera. We're going to click OK. And immediately you can see that this scene looks good. But now let's see what happens when we start adding a position. So let's just say, not that, not that. If we play with the Z, we can see when we zoom in, this layer looks like you can actually, like you can see it, but it doesn't look attached to the wall. Same thing with the floor. The floor is not moving. We need to make this 3D. And again, what you can see is that it's just not lining up correctly. So once you make the floor 3D, we just have to make sure that when we push it back in Z space, it goes behind the door and then it goes behind the walls. So almost as soon as it goes behind the walls, then we stop. And then we just go to the scale factor, turn up the scale, and then we're good. Now what we'll do is we'll go to the pillars. Pillars look good. Walls, we'll make sure the walls are perfectly in tune. So as soon as they drop behind, that's where we keep them. So that looks good. And we'll do the same thing with the door. See, the door is very far. You see, we can keep scaling this, but it's so far away from that wall. That's why it looks not attached. So as soon as it goes up there, then we'll scale it up. And we'll move it to about, I'll scale it down actually a little bit. We'll go right there. That looks pretty good. I'm liking the way that looks. We'll do the same thing with our fluorescent light. We'll zoom in for this one a little bit more. Play with the Z. I might just use the, oops. Bring up our positions. See, the fluorescent light was very far away. So we'll keep it right there. Then we'll zoom it up, bring it to where we want it to be, which I think right there is a pretty good position. I'll move it over even a little bit. That looks good. Okay, cool. We'll also scale this up a little bit, these walls. Okay, that's looking good. Now that I did that, I have to scale my door up again. Again, all of this is pretty much fine-tuning. You can do it however you want to, but this is just how I'm doing it. Gonna move my fluorescent light again. Maybe scale him up a tad. There we go. That's looking good. We'll make sure to pick this other door up, or the walls. Make sure that that's right where we want it to be. Then we'll scale it up, move it over a little bit. Okay, cool. So nothing really changed, but wait, I'm sorry. This wall needs to come up a little bit further. Just enough to where it covers that wall. Or not. I mean, you can, if you want it to cover that wall, make it cover the wall. If you don't, then don't. It's really up to you. And again, this stuff is all going to be dark, so really you're not going to see much of the sides. I know that these kind of look a little bit uneven, but I can also just move that back a little bit to match it. And then once again, just scale it up a little bit. Now that looks like it's matching. Okay, so this is looking good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the position on my camera. This is looking good so far, but I'm going to go to my left view. You can click on this little tab right here, and active camera will show you what you're actually looking at, but then the left camera, it allows you to kind of move the camera around to where you want it to be. So I'm going to go up a little bit, and then I'm going to really zoom in. And then I'm going to go see where I'm at the active camera. I'm going to need to come in a little bit. I'm going to switch from the left. Come up a little bit. I'm going to need to come down. That's looking good. I like that. Again, you can start this from wherever you want to. Don't let me be the judge of that. You be the judge of your creativity. So this looks pretty good. I like the way this is looking. So we'll just move this tab down so we can see the transform. And we'll select the keyframes of point of interest and the position. We'll move to about 24 seconds. And then we'll just move our camera back to where we originally had it pretty much. We'll see where we're at. I like that, but I want to go a little bit further back. Okay, that looks good. So now what we have is this sweet camera move. We can go ahead and just select these, right click, and then easy ease. So we got these nice keyframes, just a nice smooth action. And now what we'll do is we'll add our lights. So we'll add a new light you can name this whatever you want. I'm just going to name it Spotlight number 1. I don't really care. I'm going to turn up my intensity just a little bit. Click OK. And then we're basically just going to do this to the entire scene. So this part might get a little bit intense and time consuming, but I assure you it is worth it. We'll also add a new adjustment layer. Put some curves on this baby. And then if we turn off this light, we can see the whole scene. We'll just bring it down a little bit, you know? Maybe turn up our greens like I did in the other episode. Maybe the blues a little bit, make it look like a little alien dungeon. I don't know. I mean, this is, again, it's all up to you guys and your creativity. I'm kind of liking this. Maybe either bring down our red so it kind of looks like an isolated dungeon. I like the way that looks. Yeah, I'm liking this. Maybe even bring it down a little bit darker, because we're going to have the lights do most of the work in this. So now when we turn on the light, now we can see some cool stuff going on. So that's what we got right now. I'm going to go into the light options. I'm just going to turn up the intensity a little bit more. Again, you're going to see some grain. It's going to happen. You can't really fix that unless you want to do some, like, if you want to go in here and change the type in grain, remove grain, it just doesn't really work very much. I tried this already, guys. I know. If you want to go to the door and remove the grain, we can do that. What are we doing here? Noise reduction settings. I don't know. Passes, do multiple passes, I don't care. I don't want to do this grain thing, the removing grain thing, too much, because it can get in the way of how your guy actually looks. Yeah, see, I don't know. You can turn off that effects layer. Oops. Yeah, I don't know. It's really up to what you want to do. This isn't even going to where I want it to be. So, yeah, I'm not going to worry about that too much. If you guys want to play with the remove grain settings, you can. I kind of like the way it looks just because it adds more depth to the door and makes it just look like it's really part of the scene. But, again, do what you want to do. It is all up to you. So, this actually is looking pretty good. I like the way this is looking. In the previous scene, I had more lights than this. I had a lot more lights than this, actually. But you want to mainly position your light up top, giving the illusion that the fluorescent light is actually the thing making all of the light. What I also did was I put a layer, I went layer, new solid, and then I changed this to a white. Name this, I'll just do F light. Basically turn off the layer, and then you can just kind of roto a little piece right here. Turn the solid back on, and then just feather it out a little bit. Kind of gives a little ambient light. Again, you can just make an ambient light, or you can do that. I like the way this looks a little bit more because you have a little bit more control over like the feather and things like that. So I like the way that looks. We'll maybe add a new light. Maybe bring the intensity on this one down a little bit. Cone angle, make it larger. We'll maybe just go from like a different angle. Oops. What am I doing here? The camera on top, spotlight 2. Remember, these lights are only working because these are all 3D layers, so make sure you have everything checked for 3D, except for the lights. I mean, the lights, you don't really need to, you can't really make those 3D anyways. For this one, I might even play with the rotation for the second spotlight. Maybe angle it just downwards and then just shoot it up into the sky. And then maybe move our X rotation around a little bit. See how that looks? Yeah, I like that because it's illuminating the door, kind of keeping everything else secretive. And yeah, that's looking good. So this is kind of the basic scene. Obviously, you guys can tweak this a little bit depending on what you want. I don't think I did a very good job rotoing this door. That's why it's looking kind of flat. But again, so there's your scene. Basically starts out. I'm not going to render this because it's going to take forever to render. But basically, it's just going to zoom out like this and kind of show your door. So that's that part. And then here, so basically for the project, we have some, you go into here, we got some fog. I'll probably just throw some fog on here. Switch the transfer mode to screen. Make sure to toggle the switches and modes if you're not on the correct one. Where's screen at? Screen is right here. Probably just scale this down a little bit. Actually, I'll probably scale it up. Maybe turn the opacity down just a tad. Now we have a little bit of ambience. It's looking a lot better. Yeah, I like that. So that's that. I can play through. Basically, kind of adds a little bit of depth to the scene. I like the way that looks. I'm actually going to turn down the intensity on this secondary light. It's kind of giving too much light down at the bottom. So, turn that down. Remember, you can always turn off the show layer toggles or show layer controls in the view section. Because these lights, if you're using multiple lights, it can get very difficult very quickly if you don't turn off the show layer controls. Because I think I had like 9 lights in my original, and they were just everywhere. And I actually didn't know that you could turn those off. So yeah, just remember view, show layer controls. You can do that. So yeah, this is looking really good so far. If we're gonna show the door blowing open scene, I'm not going to do all the sound effects stuff right now. That stuff is pretty self-explanatory. All you really got to do is go into the sound effects. You got your bell riser. I think this was shown in the beginning to initially like pop the scene out. So initially I just took everything, moved it over to like 5 seconds, I think, to when the bell riser actually made it sound. So here, if we can actually go to the desktop, go to sound effects. I think this was the sound effect leading up to the door blowing open. So that would go in there wherever you want to place it. Bomb scanner. That's the sound where the door was about to blow open. That's like the sound I used. Dark Slam. I used Dark Slam right after the orchestra. And then it would go. And then that Dark Slam revealed the initial shot of the up close dungeon. And then it would zoom out to the bell riser, and then yeah. See, I'm sorry that I'm not really going through all of this in detail. Again, this is kind of just like an informational tutorial, but you guys can pretty much figure this out on your own. I mean, it's just sound effects. Like you're just adding that, you're just placing them. It's not like you had to do any digging for them. They're all right here. You just add them in, see where they sound cool, and do it. And then here's the little engage thing that I made. I did that in Adobe Audition. I basically just recorded myself saying, 17, you are clear to engage, and then I just put like a radial effect on it, and it turned out pretty well. It sounded like it was coming out of a military mic. Yeah, other than that, I'll probably just show really quickly how you're supposed to do the door busting open scene. So basically, if we just pre-compose all of this, just name it like dungeon stuff. No, dungeon door open. Now we see we have our scene. So if we go to about like 24 seconds, I believe, when this happens, basically what we'll do is we'll duplicate the scene, just shave this down all the way to the point where we want it to happen, and basically we'll just make a little mask. Actually, we don't duplicate yet. I'm sorry. We just go to the dungeon and mask around our guy. Again, I'm not doing this perfectly. You guys can obviously spend some more time doing this. You guys have a lot more time than I do, but yeah, it's like that. Okay. Now what you can do is you can duplicate this, move the scene to where you want it to do it, open up the mask settings, and then just select this to subtract, and then just put this on the bottom. So now this layer, this top layer is playing as your door, and then this layer is playing as the background. So we've just basically put the exact same scene into two different scenes. So now all you gotta do is, when you're ready, toggle switches and modes, make them 3D, and then basically when you're ready, you'll just keyframe the position of this guy. Maybe even want to keyframe the X rotation and the Y rotation a little bit. And just click U so that you can see all your keyframes. And then over the course of probably less than a second, you're going to want this thing to blast by you. So we're just turning this up. We're going to throw it off to the right because you're not going to want to see it. And then during that course of time, I probably want it to rotate a little bit and then spin around a few times. And then I want it to exit the scene completely. So now you have this door that's just flinging open. And I know it's kind of hard to see, but it's just flinging by you. And then what you can do is you can hit the toggle switches and mode. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. You're already there. Just turn on motion blur. So when this thing goes by, it's just kind of like wavy and blurry. And then what I did basically was I just put a bunch of smoke effects and then the spark hits like right behind the door, just to kind of sell the fact that the door was actually blowing open. Along with the sound effects, it really does play a role. And then all you got to do is you got to go to the pictures and add your little background deal. Scale him up a little bit. Make him 3D. Move it down. And originally, later what I did was I just made a black solid. I clicked OK and then turned it off. And then essentially I just... You don't have to, like, you can leave it like this, but I didn't like to leave it with these little thingies right there, like with these little openings right here. So what I did was I just made this quick frame around it. Something like this. Just so that it wouldn't look, I mean, obviously this is crappy. Like, I know, it's not, it doesn't look like it at all. But this will give you, it'll sort of give you the effect that you need to make it not look like those things are just like right there. Anything you can do to make it not look crappy. So yeah, maybe move these down a little bit and then give yourself a bottom layer as well, just to make it look like the door really came out of there. You can even pull these lines back in a little bit. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Like look at that from this. It's covering it up. Move that in a little bit. Yeah, it's a lot better. And then you can add a bottom part if you want. I didn't really feel a need to. That doesn't really, when you're looking at it from a far away distance, it doesn't look that bad. And then you can always change the color to like a grayish if you didn't want it to be so prominent. Because this door is flying away. This is going to have to be under the door scene. And right when it happens. So right when this door decides to pop open. Maybe not right when it does it. Maybe like a few frames afterwards. And then when you add all the smoke effects, it's really going to look like it came out of there. So you can even put a fade on this bottom one when that happens. And yeah. So you kind of got your door blowing open, you got your dust effects. And the original, oops. Gotta bring that forward. Alrighty. Yeah, so so that's basically how you make this dungeon map painting. I know that I didn't really go very far in depth with what you're supposed to do as far as the actual action scene, but this is this is the map painting. Like this is it right here. You got your door, you got the back walls, and you got your flooring. It's yeah. And again, you guys can customize this however you guys want. It's really up to you. I'm sorry if I didn't go really far in depth with what I did. I just felt like that would really take a long time because I mean, with these kind of things, you just have to tweak and tweak and tweak until you get it right. And I would be here for hours upon end. I would not want to do that to you guys. So this is the dungeon map painting. This is what you got to do, and yeah. So if you guys have any questions, make sure to post them down below. I'll have everything linked in the description, including the VC color plugin, Video Copilot. Color vibrance. But that is all for me. I will see you guys in the next one. This has been Ben from Rook Films. I will see you guys later. Peace.